was a deputy that part of their duties would be HR. And it seemed to be she was suggesting that in order to move into, I guess no longer, that was my sense, kind of the stage one of firing us, but for lack of a better term, not really firing us, but so that was one of the things that I wanted to know. Is that still something that's being considered? And if so, then that would be, I can't remember what I put in here. That we could potentially do that, but it would have to kind of be a limit in terms of how much of that deputy's time would get sucked in every week on that, I guess. And some weeks it'd be almost nothing, and some weeks it would be a lot. So, is that something that's being discussed or is considered? So,
You guys have any thoughts?
I mean, if it's I mean, because here in the last just the 2 months I've been here, we've had a lot of HR, not issues, just, and if we have something in-house, then yes, and rather than calling Michelle, Ms. Peart,
Quigley?
thank you, you know, having someone here that's a lot more accessible. Phone call's a phone call, but, so, I mean, to be honest with you, I've not given it much thought.
okay.
But, I mean, to me, having someone in-house is always better than someone out-of-house.
Do you know, what do we pay her annually, would you guess?
We're
It
actually,
varies, yeah.
yeah, we're actually getting away pretty inexpensively. Off the top of my head, I would guess 6,000 to 7,000.
A year, really?
Mhm. Yeah, it's pretty low. Our last bills have been just a couple thousand. We had $190 for 1 month. So, you know, that's just a guess at this point. If we're on, you know, everything is going smoothly, it's like HR anytime.
Exactly.
It's easy. When things fall apart, it's very, very difficult. Michelle's suggestion last year was 50-50, 50% HR. And I think if we're gonna move it in-house, we have to be willing to realize it's gonna be 50%, because it's not just answering the problems after there's a blow up, it's the trainings that we bring Michelle in to do. It's keeping up on things like the personal policy handbook. Those are mundane little things that are so, so important that keep things running smoothly. You know, the public, for example, will hear the blow-ups, but you don't know about all the work that's being done when things are going smoothly, like right now. So I think we need to have an HR that's more, not reactionary, but proactive. So I think it would have to be at least 50%. Michelle serves us well because we're able to get her to come in and do trainings. I don't know, we can certainly talk about it, but it would be, I think, more than what you indicated you were willing to do in your proposal.
Okay.
Maybe that's something we can work on together as a team.
Could be, yeah. And I'll tell you that if it was just criminal law, if that's all I did, then I'd be fine. I mean, I'd be stretched, but I would do it. But the biggest driver of the more time commitment is really gonna be civil county stuff, and not just county commission. County commission, my sense is that my involvement needs to go up considerably, but also more proactively, as I mentioned. But secondly, it's, you know, it's boards. You know, we've talked, you mentioned that last year, boards that whose bylaws are, you know, have to be dealt with. So, you know, I've spent some time with the museum board and hospital district board and a little bit with the airport board, but there's a lot of, I've discovered there's a lot of kind of just old traditions of how we do things that aren't necessarily, some of them aren't even necessarily, you know, written down in a bylaw, and so then some of them certainly aren't really following what we need to do. So there's some amount of that work that just has to get done at some point, because I mean, the museum's a great example. I met with the museum board, and we were talking about the whole building thing. This is after all the discussion here over the move. And so we were going over the board structure, and discovered that the Historical Society and the museum board are basically the same board. They're basically the same people. They can't do that. They have to be separate. So I said, well, they were saying, well, why is the county commission appointing our board members? And I said, well, they should be appointing the county museum board members, yeah. they shouldn't be appointing the Historical Society board members. But that's the way it is, and that's the way it's been. So I said, well, how long has it been this way? And the longest serving member there has been there 16 years. And when she got on, that's the way they did it. So we've been doing it wrong for over 16 years. And so, my sense is that's the tip of the iceberg. Kind of like the hospital district board. I mean, finding those records, it's literally, they're in the filing cabinets, but every time I said, okay, we need this record, and they go, well, okay. So they literally had a work session for a day where a bunch of them were down there digging through filing cabinets. It just, my sense is there's a lot of long-standing things that we've done that kind of like, nobody ever complained, so we didn't change them. But we seem to be in an era now where everybody's complaining. So I feel like there's going to be some amount of work we're going to have to do to just tighten up our ships. And I don't even know how many boards there are. There's a ton of boards, right? I mean, how many boards are there? 10?
20?
20? That's scary. But most of them, nobody really knows or cares, right?
Right.
You don't until there's a fight.
Something happens.
Yeah, so there's some amount of that that's gonna, it's like an ongoing deal, but we gotta dig into it. So far, our airport board really didn't have any problems. I mean, they just had to work with them a couple times on some issues, but the one I've spent the most time with was a hospital district, but then the museum board, we definitely have to do some work there, change their practices, so. Anyway, I haven't got to the other 17, so.
You know, that's something where it's kind of a one-time hit. You know, once you work through the bylaws of each board, it's not like you have to review them every month. It's
Right.
kind of a one-time deal.
Right.
That is possibly something that we can pull in the local government center to work with your intern,
That'd be great.
perhaps this summer, and actually just hit it hard and get it done. And also follow through with what we've talked about before, and that's the board trainings, to be sure that our boards are all following open meeting laws, posting their meetings, keeping the minutes, all that. But I don't see that it's necessarily ongoing. I think it's something we can tackle and take care of and take off the table. Department of Administration too is also stepping up with some local government services. So we have two different resources. Local government center will cost us a little bit, but I think that could easily be handled in the contracted services.
Okay. So, and then the last issue is and the bigger discussion is gonna be with the law enforcement, in terms of if there's an increase with law enforcement, how the county and the city share that, and that's gonna be a discussion between yourselves and the city council. If you support a deputy county attorney, then some amount of that discussion should happen as well between the city and the county. I mean, like I've said, the biggest driver of my increased demands of what I need to do is really coming from here and from the county stuff, and then the city council, I go there twice a month, and it's really minimal, but I'd still prosecute all the city misdemeanors. So at least that discussion of cost sharing is something that is really not appropriate for me to make that decision. It's not, it would be the two governing bodies that need to make that decision. So, but what I would kind of following up with what you just said, I would ask that if you guys have things that are coming up, that let me know, and really the best way to do it is at a work session. I mean, the email, we email a lot, I hate email, but a lot of times I discover something that's 3 weeks old in my email that someone sent me, and I'm going, oh man, because just keeping up with email is sometimes a full-time job. So if we just do those at work sessions, that'd usually be the most productive way to do it.
Sure.
So.
Can I request that we set something, rather than say, hey, that's a good idea, go our separate ways, and a month later we're having the same conversation?
Sure.
You mentioned Mondays and Fridays.
So every Friday, well, not quite every, but most Fridays I have district court. And so usually what happens is that's somewhere between the first half and sometimes two, a long one, 2 to 3 p.m. So what I try to do the end of the day Friday is you often have to get an order out right away from court, and then I try to preview the next week. So if there was let's say there was a county commission issue for Monday, that's my brief little interlude to work on it, but usually they're gonna take more time than that. So I don't know that Friday's a good day, especially if you guys aren't here, but Monday afternoon's probably the best.
How about a Monday at 4 o'clock, standing meeting in the judges' chambers?
Well, we would have to be, it'd have to be an open meeting, unless it was something that was closed for a specific reason, so.
Well, we just said it, so many times we don't have much in the afternoon at all, and do it at 1 or 1:30.
We just set a block time on Mondays for.
And if there's nothing, it'd just be like, today there was some item that wasn't, it been postponed or changed and stuff, and if that's the case, there's nothing, there wouldn't be anything, if there is, that'd be this time slot.
Yeah, I generally, I try to avoid scheduling anything on Mondays, because it's either court prep for Tuesday, or it's county commission stuff, or it's just general work day, so.
Sure.
Pretty much Monday afternoon, I'm available.
Can we do like, set like a block, 1 o'clock on Mondays?
Mhm. I would suggest maybe 1:30, because
Okay.
sometimes we go over, and that
Sure.
would at least 1:30 would give us a chance to make sure we have lunch.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Yeah, 1:30 to 2:30 Mondays?
Yep.
Okay. Good, we'll start today. Does that
Yep.
work, since
Um,
our meeting's done when we're done with this?
Well, today I do have a jury trial tomorrow, so today
Okay.
I am prepping, witnesses, right, pretty much prepping for trial day today, so today would probably not be a good one, but
Start next week, which would be Tuesday at 1:30, do the trial.
I'm gonna go grab my schedule.
Okay.
Cause I know we have court on Tuesday next week, so I'll leave a look at it last.
Okay. Yeah, this would be the May,
May,
since we're not done with June, those will be.
May days.
Thanks, you guys.
Not that you guys haven't been fun, but.
Madam Chair, can I make an observation?
Yes, sir.
You know, for years and years and years, we had a part-time county attorney who had time enough to write books and a lot of other things. Now we have virtually a full-time county attorney who is wanting a full-time assistant. What has changed in the county that has made his load so god-awful heavy? Isn't there a possibility that he could just give up the city stuff and work in the county?
There's a lot of options.
There are a lot of options. I hate to see pyramid building, and that's what this is like to me.
I think times have changed. I know back, because I spent 13 years in law enforcement. If you go back 13 years, we weren't near as busy that they are now. So that alone adds more time on cases and things that he's doing. So even though you can go back with Mr. Flynn working part-time, there was a lot less law enforcement going on then than there is now.
Is
And
that
I've-
necessary?
It is.
I mean, we got along fine with the sheriff's department, now we got a sheriff's department and a full-time detective and a full-time investigator. Do we need those things?
Yeah,
Once again, I think some pyramid building is going on.
having lived that life for 13 years and growing with it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Franklin, but what they're dealing with now that the community's not wise to, and I think it's a good reason they're not wise to, because it would really change how you view things in this community. If you were to spend half a day with Detective Reddick or any of our administration or even deputies and see what they're dealing with, it would really change your view on that. Just being used to investigating the crimes that they're dealing with now that we never dealt, very few and far in between back in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. We didn't have those issues that they have now.
What has changed that has made these
Society.
issues grow?
Society's changed.
Our community hasn't changed
It
that
has.
much. Our county hasn't changed that much.
The people coming into this community and county has changed substantially.
I do think, though, Paul does bring up a point that we should also at least have on the table, and that is just a change from past to present. One of the things that John did is use resources, MACO, and contract. You know, there are options out there. The Galsbury subdivision, again, you brought it up as an example. I think instead of all of the back and forth that we had in these meetings, I think it was 9 hours, where nothing was really resolved, although we did get to a very good place at the end. I think had Tara Depew been brought in earlier, and maybe the two of you talked privately or with Nicole and come up with a solution, then we would have actually streamlined those hours into something much smaller and come to that solution, I think, a lot sooner. So I think if we can use the resources out there a bit more, we can also help to not only streamline but lighten your load a little bit. Because like you know, land use is a specialized area. So we
Well,
have
and
those
I did
resources.
talk privately with Tara actually extensively, and she agreed entirely with me. By the end of it, she didn't even know the whole story going in, but,
Had that happened, like you said, at the front end, it would have streamlined 9 hours of work to maybe an hour.
right, I mean, if I had been in on the front end of that to begin with, before a preliminary plat, I would have told them I had to do those easements. That would have already, but there's, yeah, I see what you're saying. And I agree, streamlining is getting, you know, whatever we can done proactively on the front end of those issues is likely. My goal is to resolve conflict before it happens, rather than have to fight through the conflicts. One of the things that I've tried to do is limit hiring outside counsel, because that's expensive. That is the absolute most expensive dollar you're gonna spend. And because if you hire an outside counsel, you're talking $150 an hour minimum. I mean, I ended up hiring some outside counsel on a hospital issue, paid for it out of my own budget, and it was double what I was expecting it to be. And what I got was helpful. It helped me resolve the issue, and they found some things that I hadn't found, but, you know, gosh, it was $1,100 that I pulled out of one of my other funds, and would have rather have had the money, you know? So I'm fine with that when we need to do it, but I will tell you that as a general rule, it is expensive. And, you know, talking to Brooke, who was here for a long time, John had to rely on that a lot because he was part-time. And, I don't know, I mean, the idea of, for example, the city gets their own attorney. you know, that's fine. It's not gonna save that much because I'm gonna still be sitting there doing all the justice court county misdemeanors side by side with whoever the new city attorney is. So it'll save me some time because I'm not prepping that number of cases. But, you know, really, if we were talking all criminal, city and county, if that's all I did, then I could do it. I mean, I could still do it, it's just a matter of how well. And the civil stuff at the county level, in my view, the reason why we have some of these long-standing gentlemen's agreements with no signed documents was because John was part-time and he recognized that he had to focus on the top priorities, which were the felony criminal issues. And nobody was clamoring to give him another deputy and all that stuff. And so he said, okay, I'll do what I can do, which was more criminal stuff and the civil stuff. Nobody was complaining about it, so it kind of sat there. I mean, I've been through lots of his files and, you know, talked to Brooke at length about this stuff, and she said, you know, basically John said, I'll do what I can do, and which is with the amount of time that they've given me. And the stuff that fell by the wayside is some of the stuff that, like I said, the museum board for 16 years at least, they've been doing it wrong. And I'm sure there's other examples like that out there. So it basically what it comes down to is, and I mentioned this last year, it's just that where are we willing to accept some risk? And if the commission says, no, we're not gonna fund it, that's okay. And I'm not gonna I'm gonna take my toys and go home. I'll do my very best, but there will be a trade-off. There will be things that I'm just gonna tell you I won't be able to do, and there's gonna be some criminal cases where, you know, we're gonna have trouble getting to where we need to get. So, I would not say that it's like that, you know, the sun won't rise in the east and things are gonna just fall apart here in Belmar County. But, I will tell you that, the civil stuff is what scares me the most, just in terms of lurking problems, lurking lawsuits. And, you know, we could end up paying a whole lot more down in the long run from that, so.
One of the things that we're gonna have to grapple with is the only fund we had to look for cuts last year was the general fund.
Say again?
The only fund that we had to have people cut last year was the general fund. Now, we're working on the sheriff's department, the law enforcement fund, but that's separate. Of all the other funds, the only one we had to ask for cuts from was the general fund. So if you have an option or some ideas for funding, that would be good to include in a part 2 proposal where that money could come from. We're probably looking at about $95,000 per year when you look at all the, you know, ancillary, FICA, work comp, all that. So if you could come up with some funding assistance, again, grant funding, if there's something like that, misdemeanor probation, if that can help. I don't know, that's your area of expertise, but that would help us in finding the money, because that's gonna be, I think, our biggest challenge. The desire, I don't think, you know, from what we heard is an issue, it's just the money.
Right.
I just don't know where that's gonna come from at this point. But if you could help us out with that, that'd be great. So,
Okay. I don't know if it's that much. The estimate I got from Debbie was, they were in those spreadsheets that were attached. And we did a salary range of 55 to 70,000. And I think even the
That's net.
highest. Say again?
that was net, gross is the 95, because
No,
you have
no.
to add the percentage.
No, that's
for
what I'm
the-
saying is even at 70, I thought that the highest was at 80, gosh, I don't know, 84 or something. Does that sound right? Or
I think
70?
it was a split of 80 to 95, at least those are the sheets I got. Maybe there's a second set.
Okay, I'll look at
But,
it.
yeah, yeah. So I think regardless, though, we've come to a good place in setting our 1 hour per week.
Okay. So next Tuesday, I have 2 trials in the afternoon, so I won't be able to do a meeting next Tuesday. So the soonest we can do would be July 11th as far as a standing meeting. But in terms of, if there's any issues before then, or if you want to meet, or I guess send me something before then, I could take a look at it in terms of the issues that are, pressing issues that are coming up.
So we'll get, if we do the 11th, we'd have 2 Mondays before you leave on your next deployment with National Guard. So that would be, I think, better than nothing. I know you hate email, but one of the things with email is it's hard for a commission that has to act like we do, where we can't really be conversing about things prior to a meeting, to have the separate conversations. Email at least brings everyone into the questions and the answers. So that might be something that we can utilize a bit more until we get these meetings really off the ground. There's also a record of what's discussed with email, which is good for open meeting requirements.
Okay.
So are we good with that? Or my understanding, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is we're meeting at 1:30 on the 11th and the 18th. And if something else comes up before then, we'll let Corey know and schedule something.
Yep.
Okay. Is that good with you, Corey?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve May journal entry adjustments.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the May adjusted journal entries. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order? All right, any other public comment or questions? All right, if I were a pill, I would say I'm not gonna adjourn this meeting until I've stamped all these and signed them, and make you guys all just sit here on those hard seats and you guys. But because I'm not a pill, I'm gonna adjourn this meeting at 12:05. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Julie's gonna meet with us next week about her budget